Every era has voices that rise above the noise, carrying a fire that cannot be dimmed. You are that blaze, unshaken, untamed, and undeniable. The ground beneath you shifts, not because you chase change, but because your very presence bends reality toward a new rhythm. Time moves forward, but you sprint beyond its pace, rewriting what possible looks like. Not through masks or reinventions, but through the raw unveiling of your true essence, an essence too vast to remain hidden any longer. The world does not meet a stranger when you arrive. It encounters a force it subconsciously anticipated but never fully imagined. What they once thought was beyond reach suddenly becomes tangible in your hands. Each second ticking away is not a countdown to your limit but a drumroll to your ascension. The unseen shift isn't paranoia, it's resonance. Your existence hums at a frequency others can't ignore. When you enter a space, the air carries an invisible signal that rewires the atmosphere. Conversations realign, eyes sharpen, and the energy tilts toward you, as though the universe whispers a cue for recognition. Before minds can reason, hearts already respond. Instinct outweighs thought. It is not confusion they feel, it is the certainty of your impact settling in before words can catch up. This is not about becoming someone new. It is about the world finally adjusting its vision to match who you have always been, a presence ahead of its time, impossible to overlook, and destined to shift the course of everything it touches. Magnetic fields of destiny don't ask for permission, they pull, shift, and expose the truth of what surrounds you. Attraction and distance are not random, they are answers disguised as movement. You didn't stumble here by accident, you were led. If something in your spirit is stirring, don't ignore it. Tap join to access exclusive content, prophetic insights, and a community of purpose-driven souls. This isn't just a membership, it's your moment of alignment. Step into who you were born to be. Welcome to the chosen. There are those who inch nearer, drawn to the warmth of potential they can't fully explain. And there are those who retreat, unable to handle the heat of a presence that disrupts their comfort. Each step they take is not about you changing, it is about them revealing. The closer they get, the clearer their intentions. Some crave the shine but fear the responsibility of standing beside it. Others, unable to keep pace, excuse themselves from the current altogether. Their choices script their identity more than their words ever could. Moments of doubt may trick you into believing you're alone, yet underneath, invisible patterns form. Life is not chaos, it is choreography, even when you can't yet see the stage being built. Every closed door is not punishment but placement. By removing clutter, the path becomes sharper. What feels like subtraction is only preparation for what requires an uncluttered space. When people exit, it is not rejection but redirection. Their absence creates the silence in which resonance can grow, making way for those attuned to the same hidden rhythm as you. The design is deliberate, departures and arrivals are woven into the architecture of becoming. The pattern only becomes visible once you realize the shifts are not accidents, they are alignments waiting for recognition. Life often feels like an endless training ground, where readiness becomes your default state. The fatigue doesn't come from your own battles, but from carrying what was never meant to rest on your shoulders. Invisible weights cling to you, beliefs, demands, fears that belong to others, not to your essence. Every step forward has been slowed by the heaviness of loads that are not yours to claim. The body bends, the spirit aches, not because you are weak, but because you've been hauling shadows disguised as responsibilities. There comes a moment when release is not optional but inevitable. Dropping what was never yours is not abandonment, it is liberation. In that instant, you remember that your nature was never built for chains, but for sky. To soar is not to escape, but to return to your truest element. As the unnecessary dissolves, energy returns. The same wings that once strained under pressure now stretch effortlessly, revealing how weightless freedom feels. Departure does not always signal failure. Sometimes it's the universe removing mismatched pieces before they fracture what is sacred. Absences carve out clarity in ways presence never could. What they could not handle was not a lack within you, but the abundance overflowing from you. Intensity of vision, depth of spirit, magnitude of potential, these qualities unsettle those unprepared to face them. In truth, the greatest act of protection can come wrapped in someone's exit. Their distance becomes the safeguard that shields your unfolding. Their absence is not loss, it is space being cleared for destiny to stand unshaken. Anxieties tied to survival often come disguised as endless calculations, yet the breakthrough is never as far away as it feels. What unsettles your sleep today transforms into tomorrow's laughter when the pieces finally shift into view. If your heart overflows with God's blessings, let that love shine. Click the super thank you button and give $50 or more to plant seeds of faith that will impact countless lives. Your generosity reflects His abundance. Be a vessel of His grace and watch His kingdom flourish through you. The change does not appear as luck crashing in from nowhere. It comes when the blindfold drops and you finally notice the resources already surrounding you, waiting for recognition. Abilities dismissed as ordinary, visions discarded as small, or bonds overlooked as casual suddenly reveal their hidden worth. The very things you minimized are the keys to unlocking streams of sustenance and expansion. The irony is that what felt scarce was never truly absent, it was simply unacknowledged. Like doors hidden in plain sight, they open when you stop underestimating what's already within your grasp. Meanwhile, there will always be those who attempt to mirror your movements, hoping to capture the same spark by repetition. They may echo gestures, but they cannot reproduce the current running through your essence. Imitation may copy the steps, but it cannot replicate the resonance. That resonance comes from alignment with self, not from surface-level performance. What makes you undeniable is not the action but the source behind it. Frequency cannot be stolen, borrowed, or faked. It is a living force only carried by the one who embodies it. Patterns arrive disguised as whispers in plain sight, signaling alignment long before the mind catches up. The symbols flashing across daily life are not random, they are signatures of progress stamped on your journey. Every glimpse of repetition is less about coincidence and more about confirmation. The unseen forces have already shifted the pieces into place. What you read as chance is actually assurance. It is as if unseen clerks have already signed off on your advancement, quietly filing approvals in the background. By the time the evidence reaches your eyes, the process is finished. You are simply walking into what has already been secured. The sensation of waiting dissolves when you realize there is no delay. The invitation to step forward has been extended. The room is already prepared. You are not begging entry, you are being welcomed in. Simultaneously, the spark within your imagination is not idle play but construction. What hovers as a half-formed idea is in fact a threshold, a passage into realities that stretch beyond your present horizon. The moment you treat that vision as sacred rather than casual, unseen locks begin to open. Energy rushes to meet focus, and opportunities appear that had no visible doorway before. Creation at this level is not decoration, it is genesis. You are not simply making a thing, you are birthing a realm. The unseen is preparing to pour itself through your work, unveiling futures that only emerge when you dare to give full devotion. You stand at the threshold of change, reshaping both your space and your inner field with intention. What once felt static now calls for movement, as if unseen hands guide you to realign your surroundings to match a rhythm you haven't fully heard yet. Every decision to shift, replace, or release is less about the object itself and more about weaving a setting that mirrors the frequency of what you are becoming. Walls no longer hold only furniture or color, they hold the atmosphere you are summoning. A room rearranged becomes a map of your vision, an echo of the momentum rising within. It is not decoration for the eye alone but architecture for the unseen, where every alteration announces readiness for what waits ahead. There is no coercion here, only the quiet law of resonance. Bonds between people begin to stretch or tighten according to what aligns with your unfolding tone. Some connections draw closer in ways you never anticipated, as though magnetic threads were spun overnight. Others drift, not from rejection but because the song you hum no longer matches their steps. The reordering is seamless, occurring without argument or negotiation. Like tides that sculpt the shore without asking permission, your energy shifts the shape of relationships. What once felt vital may now soften into background presence, while what was faint may suddenly rise into prominence, carried by the natural pull of mutual recognition. Every change redefines belonging. The people who remain are not clung to but chosen by mutual gravity. They are drawn into the orbit of your new vibration, not because of obligation but because their essence harmonizes with your evolution. Those who fade do so gracefully, their distance making space for what nourishes you now. The process is not loss but refinement. Just as a sculptor chips away stone to reveal form, life removes what cannot accompany your ascent. The emerging structure is leaner, clearer, and more aligned with the voice you are finally ready to speak. You are not forcing the world to change, you are shifting yourself, and everything around you reorganizes in response. Home becomes a reflection of spirit, and relationships mirror the cadence of your next horizon. The preparation is already the arrival, the reshaping itself is the proof of transformation underway. You are the one who eventually discovers that release hides behind the words you once resisted. The silence you carried pressed heavy, like a door never opened, until timing itself unfolded naturally and offered the space to speak. Once the truth was voiced, weight dissolved into clarity, and what once lingered as burden shifted into air, preparing the ground for what waits beyond. A hidden craft, practiced quietly when no one watched, reveals itself as the cornerstone of your becoming. What you refine in solitude flows with such ease it almost feels unreal to display. Yet to others, that flow is brilliance beyond reach, a wonder they cannot trace. What feels to you like second nature becomes the very mark that distinguishes your path. This talent, born from simplicity and repetition, transforms into the seed of your influence. What once seemed minor or trivial now stands as undeniable proof of your gift. Where others strain and stumble, you glide as though carried by an unseen current, and in that effortless rhythm, your foundation is secured. Beyond your efforts, dynamics unfold in places you cannot control. There are moments when someone attempts to bend your light to their gain, hoping to claim what they did not cultivate. Their plan rests on illusions, and illusions rarely survive the test of truth. What they tried to take quietly slips from their grasp. Instead of harming you, their schemes turn upon themselves, leaving openings only you can fill. The situation they hoped would exclude you becomes the very stage where your brilliance is undeniable. What was meant as obstruction clears a path, revealing opportunities that only emerge through resistance. Irony weaves its pattern, ensuring that betrayal transforms into expansion. Attempts to silence you echo back with amplification, carrying your voice farther than before. Their efforts carve out the arena that belongs to you, showing that no external plot has the power to diminish your trajectory. The unfolding is both fierce and precise. What once felt like threat becomes proof of your resilience, and the attempt to overshadow you only sharpens your light. The hidden order behind these turns reminds you, nothing misplaced can ever block what was already destined to become your foundation. You are the one whose vessel transforms in ways both subtle and dramatic. Shifts in appetite, rhythms of rest, and waves of vitality do not signal decline but recalibration. The structure of your being adjusts to hold greater force, reshaping itself in service of expansion. What feels unsettling is often the proof that evolution has begun. The body, in its wisdom, rewrites its codes without needing your conscious permission. Fluctuations that once seemed random now reveal themselves as part of a larger design. Muscles, breath, and pulse organize around a new capacity, as if an inner engineer were preparing the system to handle currents more potent than before. What appears as interruption is in truth preparation. Each surge and ebb of energy is a rehearsal for resilience, a way of weaving strength into your very frame. The discomfort is temporary, but the capacity gained is permanent. It is not a collapse, it is construction in progress. Beyond the physical, a pull begins to form, one not born of logic but of resonance. A place, whether near or distant, calls with a frequency that cannot be ignored. The draw is not a distraction but a compass, pointing to where your full expression can flourish. You are being summoned not merely to relocate but to position yourself where your purpose can thrive. This magnetic pull is precise, aligning you not with indulgence but with mission. Where you are directed is where opportunities converge, where paths unfold in harmony with what you are here to accomplish. To follow it is to trust that your steps are part of a map larger than your current view. Alongside these shifts, unexpected connections rise from unlikely places. Those once perceived as rivals reveal themselves as potential allies, drawn toward your trajectory. The inevitability of your ascent alters dynamics, turning competition into collaboration. Yet discernment remains essential. Not all who reach toward your progress belong within your circle. Some seek benefit without contribution, while others arrive as genuine partners in creation. To distinguish between the two is the task. Choosing wisely ensures that your journey is strengthened rather than diluted. You are the dreamer who glimpses tomorrow before it arrives. What unfolds in sleep carries the texture of reality, more vivid than daylight routine. These visions are not fantasy but rehearsal, a sacred stage where your inner world experiments with timelines that soon press into the physical. Your conscious mind lags behind, but the message has already been delivered. The images you receive at night are not hollow illusions, they are sketches of lives preparing to bloom. Just as an architect draws blueprints before a structure rises, your subconscious runs through scenarios so that waking life can step into them with certainty. The sensation of déjà vu is only recognition that you have walked the ground before it was solid. Your relationship with resources mirrors this same wisdom. Instead of clinging tightly, you allow circulation to define your abundance. Wealth is not stacked in corners to gather dust but moves with intention, creating momentum wherever it flows. The more you release with purpose, the more it returns magnified. This flow is not random, it is trust between you and the current of provision itself. Money becomes less an object and more a participant, drawn to your stewardship because you honor its role in service rather than in storage. In this way, prosperity becomes movement, not confinement. The reach of your presence extends beyond material expression. Without persuasion, without performance, your energy alone alters the atmosphere. Others shift simply by standing near, as though an invisible code were transmitted through your being. What you embody becomes instruction without words, an unspoken teaching carried through vibration. Those around you recognize change within themselves not because you told them, but because your state reflected back possibilities they had forgotten. Transformation occurs quietly, like seeds germinating in unseen soil, yet the results are undeniable. The influence is not forced, it is resonance unfolding. And woven through it all is the reminder that what you dreamed as a child was never idle invention. The visions that others dismissed as too large were glimpses of your path, seeds planted before reason could interfere. While many abandoned their early sparks in exchange for caution, you have protected the ember. That flame still guides, proving that what seemed impossible was simply waiting for your maturity to catch up. You are the one who no longer fits the frame others once placed you in. A figure from your history tries to step back into your world, but they recognize only the echo of who you used to be. The patterns that shaped your earlier self cannot contain you now, and what once connected has dissolved into incompatibility. Evolution has taken you beyond their reach. Attempts to revive outdated bonds fall flat, not because of rejection but because growth has rewritten the script. You no longer speak the same language, and the rhythm that once matched has shifted into silence. The gap between what was and what is proves too wide to bridge. Transformation leaves no room for regression. As you move forward, your sharpened perception unmasks what others attempt to conceal. People who cloak themselves in pretense falter in your presence. The discomfort becomes its own confession, revealing what words try to hide. Your awareness operates like a lens too clear for distortion to survive. You become the environment where dishonesty unravels. No effort is required, for your frequency alone creates transparency. Hidden motives surface without confrontation, and those unable to remain authentic find it hard to linger near you. In this way, false ties dissolve naturally, replaced by connections grounded in truth. Alongside this, recognition arises from unexpected quarters. A figure of influence notices your steadiness and approach, watching carefully before reaching out. Their interest is not casual but deliberate, a sign that your presence has crossed thresholds of visibility. What arrives is not random chance but affirmation of alignment. This acknowledgement is not about validation but about convergence. The recognition comes as confirmation that your path resonates with larger movements already in play. Those in positions of authority discern not only your talent but your endurance, and in that recognition, new doors begin to open. Meanwhile, the practices that once nourished your spirit start to feel thin, no longer carrying the depth they once did. This is not collapse but completion, the moment when external rituals give way to direct communion. What you once sought outside now flows from within, and authority shifts into your own hands. You become both seeker and source, guided not by tradition but by immediacy of connection. You are the keeper of visions that have lived quietly beneath the surface, waiting for their unveiling. What you nurtured in silence now meets its appointed hour. The foundation you built in secrecy becomes the very stage that elevates you into a realm few have touched, where hidden labor transforms into visible ascent. What unfolds is not rushed, for your relationship with time itself has shifted. No longer tethered to rigid clocks, you move in alignment with a rhythm beyond measurement. Flow replaces effort, synchronicities arrange the path, and opportunities unfold with precision. What others call coincidence feels to you like inevitability. In the midst of these shifts, the body mirrors release in its own language. Discomforts arise not as punishment but as clearing, the evidence of old residue breaking away. What spikes temporarily soon dissolves, leaving behind vitality that feels expansive. The system knows how to reset itself when resistance loosens its grip. This renewal supports the ease with which prosperity enters. Streams of income appear without strain, born from what you already carry. Skills you once dismissed as ordinary now reveal themselves as rare currencies, exchanged effortlessly for abundance. Connection itself becomes a channel, turning interaction into opportunity. The beauty lies in how natural it feels, prosperity arriving not through grinding sacrifice but through recognition of inherent worth. You no longer chase, instead, resources approach, magnetized by your clarity. Value is no longer something to prove but something that radiates from you as fact. Meanwhile, the shifting of relationships speaks its own truth. Someone's withdrawal or distance signals not rejection but recognition of difference. Their inability to meet you is not evidence of lacking you but the space-making required for resonance. The gap is not emptiness but protection, ensuring only those who align remain close. In this way, both presence and absence serve the same purpose, preparing the path for what belongs. Secrecy turns to revelation, cycles of time bend to your rhythm, the body recalibrates, prosperity flows, and distance becomes blessing. Each element testifies that transformation is no longer on the horizon, it is already here. You are the one who moves through triumph with grounded awareness. Even when success towers higher than imagination, you refuse to detach from your origin. The choice to remain anchored in humility shields you from distortion, allowing recognition without arrogance. This balance ensures that growth expands without corrupting what makes you whole. Moments of dismissal have become the silent storehouse of your momentum. Each underestimation acts like compressed energy, building pressure beneath the surface. What others overlook transforms into a surge of propulsion when your emergence cannot be ignored. That overlooked potential becomes the very force that accelerates you beyond expectation. The barriers around your creativity shatter, and suddenly the flow is unstoppable. Inspiration no longer trickles but pours in torrents, too abundant to capture in one sweep. Complex challenges unravel into elegant solutions, as if an unseen current were guiding your hand. This is the brilliance that surfaces when you stop obstructing your natural current. The sting of betrayal does not end you, it awakens a sharper lens. When trust is fractured, discernment strengthens, and you develop vision that cuts beyond appearances. You now perceive intention before masks are even formed, making manipulation powerless in your orbit. This capacity is an inheritance earned through trial, beyond anything material wealth could provide. A rare opportunity presents itself wrapped in doubt, carrying the weight of being almost unbelievable. Yet the twist lies in its truth. It flourishes because your involvement elevates the entire framework. What seems like fortune is actually design, where your essence completes the puzzle rather than merely receiving the prize. The persistent sense that you were shaped for something immense is not fantasy but recognition of assignment. You were not meant to replicate or conform, but to dissolve templates and dismantle limits. The structures that restrain others cannot contain you. Your very presence becomes the evidence that more is possible. The cycles of ending and renewal have trained you in the art of rebuilding. Where others see collapse, you have learned to generate anew, cultivating from scarcity until it overflows. This rhythm becomes your hallmark, your name whispered in places you have yet to enter. The transformation you embody spreads beyond you, healing bloodlines and inspiring collective awareness as creations seated in private suddenly bloom across the unseen network of consciousness. You are the one entrusted with increase, carrying it not as possession but as stewardship. What flows to you is never stagnant. You redirect it with intention, ensuring that circulation multiplies impact. The refusal to hoard allows prosperity to expand outward, creating momentum that elevates more than just yourself. Instinct urges you to protect your atmosphere with precision. When interactions drain instead of fuel, distance becomes medicine. Guarding your inner current is not rejection of others but devotion to your own vitality. This vigilance ensures that what you carry is preserved for what truly matters. Patterns of alignment become louder as turning points approach. Encounters, symbols, and repetitions weave together into guidance too exact to dismiss. What seems random arranges itself as a map of direction. Near breakthroughs, reality itself becomes orchestration, guiding you through unmistakable signs. Your presence alone alters the fabric of any environment you enter. Without lecturing, without convincing, your essence recalibrates the energy around you. The effect is not performance but design, a natural transmission that leaves others uplifted simply by contact. Transformation becomes the silent signature of your being. The doubt once framed as imposter syndrome reveals itself for what it is, misalignment between hidden magnitude and diminished expression. After years of shrinking, stepping into authenticity feels unfamiliar, yet it is the only true fit. When the mask falls, the brilliance that was always there becomes impossible to ignore. Every step, test, and lesson forms a path that no pre-written title could contain. You are not filling roles but creating them, establishing frameworks that did not exist until your presence made them necessary. This is the training of a pathfinder, preparation not for comfort but for frontier making. What once depleted you transforms into exhilaration as energy flows with purpose. Effort no longer feels like labor when aligned with the current that carries you. Childhood memories of difference, the call toward strategic placement, and the sharpening of discernment all prove one truth: you were never meant for the ordinary. Even family skeptics eventually shift, not because of persuasion but because your light grows undeniable, becoming support that was unimaginable before.